The following podcast is a work of fiction based on real-world events and news. While all of the information presented is true, it should be recognized that it has been placed in a fictional world with absurdist ideals and statements. The ideas within this do not reflect the creator's ideals or beliefs. The style is greatly credited to a popular online podcast. Welcome to Nightvale. Thank you for listening.
Preservation of our forests are potentially harming our world. Timber is just another building block of society. Cutting trees is a necessity. Welcome, gentle viewers, to Timber Town. Today's topic, the monolith in the center of town, constructed of concrete against the wishes of our arboreal gods, has been emitting high levels of carbon dioxide all day. Is this a sign from the higher powers? And if so, how should you prepare for the coming of the chaos demons plaguing our universe? Well, there's no need to fear, moderate moderators. Architect Michael Green, that architect, claims that this is actually a very normal feature of concrete, and that a different monolith should be constructed if we insist on having one at all, which, as you all know, is an absolute must with our town's failing economy. What else would attract businesses, if not a giant, useless monolith? In the exact words of our lovely translator and deforestation supporter, that crazy old lady down Sycamore Canyon, God, oh God, if you intend to keep that eyesore around, use the timber. We are overrun. We are overrun. In other news, the representatives of One Green Planet have spoken out against our arboreal gods, saying not to clear the forest for agricultural purposes or even for building purposes. Despite the demands that all buildings and statues be created from timber and wood, these representatives and many others seem to have many arguments. The representatives wish not to have their voices or faces aired on the radio, instead delivered a message to me in a cold, hollow hiss, as if speaking through purely binary codes. Man is who dies when all forests are gone. Repeatedly, quoting the author of Life, Anthony T. Hinks. What drama queens. Now for the traffic. Due to the amount of dead trees lining the roads, what started as a harmless car crash has now spiraled into massive forest fires when a bit of gasoline was leaked onto one of the trees, and the sparks of the cars scraping against the road flew onto the patches and caught the dead wood on fire. Much like the fires in a far-off land known as California to those in the concrete jungle, these fires are growing rapidly and causing commuters to become very annoyed. Is there any way to stop this? Is the end nigh? Stay tuned for more on the subject. In related news, please watch for gasoline patches on the road, as it seems gasoline on roads can become very slippery. The City Council would like me to remind you that the creation of homes out of lumber is strictly required, much to the pleasure of architect Michael Green and the chagrin of One Green Planet representatives. Are your homes made of brick? How can you prepare yourself for the wrath of Dentro? Mayor Tad Long has a few gentle suggestions. Create a wooden shrine in front of your blasphemous structure that you call home. Shelter yourselves within the canopy of the forests and pray the forest fire does not get to you. Listeners, I am currently being informed that the monolith has begun excreting carbon dioxide in giant black clouds, and Michael Green claims that the timber would have actually countered this, having said that timber would have collected the gas and stored it within its fibers. Our bad, I suppose. Currently, the Boy Scout troops of Timbertown, Troop 7133, are attempting to push the monolith with their bare hands out of town. It is a strange sight, but perhaps all we have left. The bulldozers did not work, and city officials are not allowing any sort of destruction to take place in fear of vengeful spirits within the walls. The imaginations our leaders have. Now for a PSA. Benevolent perceivers. Today was an example of how our world is a strange, cruel place that cares not for our efforts and attempts to preserve it. Perhaps the only thing that can be learned is that when trying to help, one is truly harming, and the only real answer is to listen to the guiding words of our guiding deities. That being said, please practice the act of selection harvesting as suggested by the silent powers of Michigan State University. When stands of trees become overly dense, forest health risks, increase. Removing the higher-risk trees and leaving the trees with higher potential improves the quality and character of the forest. The partially opened canopies allow enough light to accelerate individual tree health and vigor, and allow seedlings to grow. The young trees eventually replace the older trees as the older trees either die or are harvested. Get rid of the risky and dead trees, and perhaps our forests will be a more fun place to raise your little saplings. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in tonight. And remember that in this world where up is down and right is not always so, listen to the words on the radio. Trust me, listeners, the radio is always reliable.